Hey, what's going on, y'all? Caesar Stone Man rolling again. Now, in today's video, I want to talk to y'all about a topic a commenter left me in my last video. And he asked me to make one about the subject of overcoming our laziness, our slothfulness. And maybe I'll do an additional one as well about getting over the flat line of semen retention. But right now, I want to focus on overcoming our slothfulness. And this one's going to be titled how to recover your ambition, how to recover our ambition. Because there will be plenty of times in life where we find ourselves not as able-minded, not as motivated, not as inspired to take on the daily tasks, to take on the work that is set before us, that that puts bread on the table, that moves us along on our path of evolution, that brings us to our better self. A lot of times we fall off that pathway, and you know, uh, I really do like to use the snowball effect here to show that whatever whatever momentum you put behind anything gets the ball rolling for that. And so this works both in our favor and it works against us. When we decide, you know what, I'm going to ante up, I'm going to find it within myself and get that gusto to overcome this bit of slothfulness that's within me, this feeling of lethargy that's holding me back. When we decide to tap into that and push our energy towards moving forward, we get the ball rolling. We get momentum behind our habit of being on task, of being on duty, of deciding to actually take on the challenges of life. We find ourselves going at that faster and faster. It becomes easier and easier every day that we get that ball rolling. As it rolls down that hill of the challenge, of the necessity of challenge to do it, it becomes faster, it speeds up. But we have to understand that sometimes that ball is going to start going upwards, and there's going to be there will be points in this where it becomes more difficult rather than easier. There will be some kind of incline, be it that maybe you haven't gotten enough sleep and you have to go to work the next day. Maybe you're swamped with assignments and you're just under the pressure and burden of how much that you have to do. Maybe you've gone to work and you got to come home, and now it's the kids, and the kids are yelling, screaming, doing this, that, and the third, and you got to take care of them little johns. You know what I mean? It could be anything that creates an incline, and it creates a something steep where now we have to find something within us to push this ball upwards, where it's not a ball rolling down the hill. You got to find it within us to push it upwards. And before I get into those reasons, I also want to say that whenever we start to get lazy and slothful, and we start to put energy behind that, the same thing happens where the ball gets rolling and we're putting energy into not today, I'll do it tomorrow. I know I was gonna work out this morning, but I'm feeling tired. It's not, I gotta do this, that, and the third later, so I'm not even gonna work out. There's really no reason for me. I know I've been doing this habit, but it's just today. It's just today, and then tomorrow is like, well, I didn't really do it yesterday, and it's really nothing. It's not even that big of a deal, and you start to minimize how important that is in your life, and you put weight and effort behind minimizing that, and suddenly you find yourself not even caring to do it at all. So this is something we have to be cognizant of. Whatever we put our energy behind, whatever we start to increase, we build a habit of that in our minds. We build a pathway in our minds that it becomes easier to follow that same route and that same pathway again each and every time. It's like when you're going sledding down a hill. If you got a sled pathway that splits and diverges two ways, and you've gone one way more times than not, well, the sled is more than likely to go that other way than the way you've traveled less, the road less traveled. And it's when we decide, okay, you know what, I'm going to put energy, I'm going to shift this to go down the road left traveled. That's when we have the power and ability to go down that road. And that's, in this case, the finding the motivation to get up and get it done. What are some things that we can use as energy to shift our sled so that we actually get down that right path when we've been swamped by, waves of lethargy and we seem to not be able to get past it? Because, the devil, spiritual entities of negativity, will do their best to pull you into just allowing yourself to go down that negative route of not accomplishing, of being less than what you could be, and not finding it within ourselves to just take care of our daily duties even. You know what I mean? And we find ourselves doing less and less and less and less and making a habit of that. And we listen, I'll say this quickly, that there are some things you can take, like psychedelics, that increase neuroplasticity. I know this is kind of one of those things for my community. I'm sure I have some people that are siding with that and some people that are like, never take drugs at all. I'm kind of in the middle ground where it's like, figure it out for yourself. You know what I mean? If this is a tool that you can use without it taking over your life in a negative fashion, hey, you know what I'm saying? But sometimes we gotta experience negative things. Sometimes, you stick to what is traditional and what works. But understand this before y'all hate on drugs. Drugs are all the dopamine, serotonin, the oxytocin, all the things that our brain is ordinarily using. Dopamine to get us going, and to get us motivated to doing things is drugs. So it's just a drug that's without ourself rather than one that's within ourselves. And so sometimes these things, like a supplement, I take maca root, I take ginseng, I take all these different things to help boost my testosterone, and they even have a psychoactive effect that you could compare to some kind of psychedelic. So don't get too don't hop on the hate train for some of these substances, because it's really the government that has put them in this little box of these are evil things, and people are still operating from that 70s. This is your brain on drugs. You got the eggs scrambling. You know what I mean? It's that kind of thing. In any case, let's get to the topic. One way is to take it seriously. To take what you have to do seriously. And this is kind of the inverse of what happens when you start to minimize. You know what I mean? This is the incline that happens to the ball of minimization. So as you minimize the necessity to do these things, sometimes maybe it's getting fat, maybe it's, oh man, my paycheck ain't coming in like it used to be, maybe it's, oh man, I'm starting to fail and my grades are looking bad. There might be something that reminds you, that wakes you up to the necessity that this is something I need to do. And so when you start to take it seriously like you used to, like you should be doing, suddenly it becomes all the easier. It's more difficult for the ball of lethargy to go up, because you're like, there are things pulling to my attention. There are things making this more necessary for my life. And suddenly it starts rolling back down, and that incline becomes the snowball of I need to get on it and get on the task so I can make money so that my kids are provided for, whatever it might be. You know what I mean? There's something that's going to make it more necessary. And when we seize the opportunity to actualize that, to download that of, oh, I need to take this seriously once again, it becomes all the easier for us to start truly and actually getting back on that. And again, building that habit, getting into the rhythm of being on task. You know what I mean? And suddenly it stops being so strenuous. It stops being so tedious, and it starts being maybe even kind of enjoyable. There's a level of accomplishment. Again, I referenced the what your brain will do to keep you going with tasks that you should be doing, that bring you greater rewards. It's like I have a checklist of doors that I gotta check off. You know what I mean? And once I'm finished with all my whole round, you know what I mean, I look at that and I just see the full every single box is filled with a time. And I'm like, and my brain gives me a little spike of dopamine. You know what I mean? It gives me a little reward internally. It makes me feel good for the fact that I just accomplished and did some work. So work can actually change in your brain. The tedium of having to do something can change in your brain when you look at it from an accomplisher's perspective. This is something that makes you all the more accomplished. And all the more so, this is something that you can enjoy as it is. I made a video a long time ago. I might do another version of it. The work is the reward. Having completed the work is the reward in and of itself, because of how much you grow through the process. And when you reframe your way of looking at work, when you reframe how you see work itself, you might start to just enjoy it naturally. You know what I mean? It's kind of like the vegetables analogy. If you cook veggies for your kids, boiled broccoli, and you serve it before plain boiled broccoli, they might not enjoy that. Now, as an adult, it's like, okay, nutrients, and I can withstand the fact that this doesn't taste absolutely perfect. But for a kid, it's like, this is nasty. It's not what I want. But take that same broccoli, throw it in a frying pan, stir fry it with some olive oil, throw some seasoning in there, put some cheese on top of that, scrape it out the pan, put it on a plate for the child. They might dig into that and be like, whoa, this broccoli ain't so bad. Maybe a less healthy version of broccoli, but a kind of broccoli that those kids are going to eat. They're going to get those nutrients still. So in that regard, it's all about how if you can reframe your perspective on it, if you can reframe how you're cooking that meal, it suddenly becomes far more enjoyable. If I'm walking around doing my rounds and I'm like, oh man, another round. Sheesh, you got to do another round this whole day. I'm going to go walk around. I would feel miserable. You know what I'm saying? It wouldn't be an enjoyable job. But if I can reframe that in my brain of, nice, I get to do another round of keeping this place secure, get my exercise, I'm strutting about, walking around, and man, I gotta take a break after this, I'm gonna chill out, rest my mind. It's gonna be good. You know what I'm saying? If I'm looking at it from a more positive perspective, suddenly the job itself becomes far more positive to be doing. You know what I mean? And I'm enjoying myself as I'm checking each thing. I got some music in as opposed to walking around, all stock and cold. I mean, obviously just one, not two. But it's like, I'm staying on task and I'm enjoying myself while I do it. And it reframes the work for me. If you're looking at it as homework, it's like, man, I'm actually learning something. I'm knocking out these problems. And man, this is kind of tedious. I hate this part, but I'm getting through it. And look at that. Done problem. And let me check back just to make sure I get the answer right so that I'm actually getting good grades. And when I look back at this, it's going to be a good, well done, well graded assignment. Maybe it's taking care of the kids, man. I love when my kids are happy. I love seeing their faces smile when they're taken care of. I love being able to provide. You know what I mean? That's the joy of being a provider. Maybe it's, as I said with work, you got, your job might be kind of boring, might be kind of tedious. Maybe you're flipping burgers, cleaning up the floor. But man, take pride in how well you've scrubbed that floor and how well it looks when you're done. Take pride in, a customer's satisfaction that you just took care of them. You're doing retail, standing behind a desk all day. Take pride in that person had a better day off of just that simple encounter of you dealing with them. And maybe you got to deal with some not so nice stuff. Man, maybe just take pride in the fact that you settled things in a respectful kind of way. There are plenty of things that you can enjoy and feel all the more accomplished for through work. And when you start to do it like that, work stops becoming something you dread and something you actually anticipate. I love coming to this job. It makes me feel good. It makes me feel purposed in life. And when you look at work like that, when you look at the things that you need to do and need to get to like that, again, it starts to motivate you to do it in the same way you would feel when you wanted to go do something like, have fun, a night drinking with the bros. You might look at going to work the exact same way. Maybe not the exact same way, but in a similar love, in a similar enjoyment. And maybe you can enjoy work all the more because it gets you to that Saturday night with the boys. Whatever it might be with your life where it's something that you enjoy. Work, the grind process, working out even, feeling bigger, getting bigger can become the same thing as long as you're willing to reframe it like that in your mind. So my 2 tips are: get serious about your job, get serious about what needs to be done. Make sure you actualize and really consider the necessity of it, and also find a way to enjoy it. Because listen, work doesn't have to be tedious. Work doesn't have to be a burden. It can actually be a pleasure. So I hope that this video was able to help enlighten y'all and inspire y'all, motivate y'all, and show y'all some ways that you can transform the dredge, the dread and the dredge of working, and turn that into something that's actually beneficial, that's productive, that inspires you to do the job itself. All right, y'all. Take care. Peace.